Imagine a crisp, late autumn morning unfolding across a tranquil fjord-side town. The air infused with the clean scent of pine and the distant, invigorating tang of the sea. An almost imperceptible hum of efficient, modern infrastructure provides a constant, reassuring backdrop to the rhythm of daily life. Children, bundled warmly against the northern chill, walk confidently towards sleek, modern schools, their route illuminated by well-maintained streetlights. Clean, electric buses glide silently along perfectly smooth, unpotholed roads, a testament to meticulous planning and abundant resources. This was Norway in its perceived prime, a nation seemingly built on an unshakable bedrock of predictable prosperity, where consistent hard work promised a secure future, and the vast, newly discovered natural wealth beneath its waters was managed with an almost sacred intergenerational foresight. Every meticulously laid brick, every elegantly designed bridge, every quiet moment of contentment seemed to whisper an unbreakable promise. Your diligent effort will be amply rewarded. Your future is irrevocably assured. This is not fiction. It is consequence. If you're watching this, you're likely curious about how some countries navigate immense wealth. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. You are about to witness a profound and unsettling paradox. A nation overflowing with almost unimaginable wealth. A colossal fortune that dwarfs most others, yet its own citizens increasingly face daily frustrations over essential public services, a seemingly lagging infrastructure, and a palpable gap between aspiration and reality. This isn't an accidental twist of fate, nor a stroke of inexplicable bad luck. It is the direct, unavoidable, and inevitable outcome. You see, while the world clamored for immediate oil riches, gripped by the illusion of boundless prosperity, Norway chose a radically different path. In 1990, a pivotal moment arrived, the establishment of the Government Pension Fund Global. This wasn't merely an administrative act, it was a profound declaration of intent, a deliberate severing of the direct link between the nation's newfound subterranean wealth and its daily domestic expenditure. Then, in 2001, this vision solidified further with a strict fiscal rule, a seemingly benign policy limiting annual government spending from the fund to a tiny percentage of its real return. This was a conscious political choice, appearing rational, even visionary, for long-term stability. Yet, within this very decision, a subtle but profound structural error was embedded, invisible at the time: the deliberate withholding of immense wealth rather than its immediate deployment for national development and consumption, creating an inherent tension between present needs and future security that would define a generation. This wasn't a mistake in the conventional sense. It was a calculated gamble, seemingly a stroke of genius designed to shield the nation from the notorious Dutch disease. You understand the trap. A sudden influx of resource wealth often inflates a country's currency, making its traditional industries uncompetitive and leading to boom and bust cycles. Norway's leaders, with a foresight few others possessed, sought to explicitly insulate their economy from such volatility and inflation, ensuring stability for generations to come. They chose restraint, an almost monastic discipline, over the intoxicating allure of instant gratification. The promise was clear. By saving rather than spending, Norway would build an unshakable bedrock of permanent intergenerational capital. It was a strategy applauded globally, a testament to prudent governance, Yet it simultaneously planted the seeds of a future paradox, where the very mechanism of long-term security would become a source of immediate frustration. Enter Marius Hansen, a man whose life embodied the very ideals Norway championed. At 35, Marius was an urban planner for the municipal government in Oslo, a proud product of a system that rewarded hard work and academic merit. He had earned his master's degree in sustainable urban development, driven by an unwavering belief in public service and the progressive values his nation so proudly projected. For Marius, a well-planned infrastructure wasn't just concrete and steel. It was the visible backbone of a thriving, equitable society, a tangible manifestation of Norway's collective commitment to continuous improvement. He took immense pride in his country's societal achievements, confident that his diligent efforts would contribute to an even brighter future, unaware that the ground beneath his meticulously planned projects was subtly shifting, driven by forces he could not yet fully comprehend. Yet, even as Marius poured his expertise into ambitious designs for greener transport and smarter city layouts, a faint, unsettling dissonance began to emerge. He would present meticulously researched proposals for essential public transport upgrades, only to face inexplicable delays in approval, or find funding inexplicably elusive for critical green infrastructure projects. These weren't outright rejections, but a gradual, almost imperceptible slowing of momentum, a bureaucratic friction that felt increasingly out of step with the nation's supposed boundless wealth. At first, Marius attributed these hurdles to standard administrative inefficiencies, perhaps a temporary budget squeeze or interdepartmental politics. He still believed the system was inherently sound, merely experiencing minor operational hiccups. But the pattern, though subtle, was becoming persistent, a quiet hum of resistance beneath the surface of his confident expectations. You're witnessing how seemingly rational decisions can ripple through decades, creating unforeseen tensions. If you find yourself pondering these complex trade-offs, hit subscribe and join us as we unravel how an initial safeguard can transform into a persistent constraint, fundamentally reshaping a nation's destiny. Share your thoughts in the comments below. How do you balance immediate needs with long-term stability? This gnawing sense intensified, evolving from a minor annoyance into a profound internal conflict. Marius had done everything right, studied diligently, contributed actively, embraced the societal compact that promised a secure and progressive future in exchange for effort. Now, he grappled with the stark contrast between Norway's immense national wealth, a fund growing exponentially in distant markets, and the daily realities of his work. The public debate around aging hospitals, inadequate roads, and ever-increasing housing prices echoed his own frustrations, making it clear these weren't isolated incidents. He felt a structural betrayal, a creeping realization that the nation possessed the means to achieve its grandest visions, to perfect its infrastructure and elevate its public services. But its own self-imposed rules were preventing their realization, leaving him caught between an ideal and a frustrating reality. The fiscal rule, once hailed as a bulwark against economic instability, began to exert its true constraining power. This mechanism, designed to convert temporary oil revenues into permanent capital, had indeed insulated Norway from hyperinflation and fostered long-term economic stability. It was an undeniable success in its stated purpose. However, the very separation of oil income from domestic spending, intended to prevent the Dutch disease, started to generate a different kind of societal friction. The fund grew, year after year, accumulating into the world's largest sovereign wealth fund, an abstract testament to financial prowess. Yet, this colossal growth was explicitly disconnected from the immediate needs of the domestic economy, creating a widening chasm between the nation's theoretical financial capacity and its citizens' tangible quality of life. As the fund swelled, public expectations for better infrastructure, more robust social services, and reduced living costs intensified, fueled by the visible evidence of national prosperity. People saw the staggering figures, the trillions accumulating, and naturally assumed a direct correlation with improved daily life. Yet, the fiscal rule, now perceived less as a safeguard and more as an unyielding constraint, led to a systemic underfunding of public projects. Hospitals struggled to modernize, despite possessing a nation of abundant means. Roads, particularly in rural areas, remained dilapidated, contrasting sharply with the pristine image Norway projected globally. This wasn't a failure of intention, but a direct consequence of a system designed to prioritize future security over present-day investment, slowly eroding the immediate benefits citizens expected from their collective wealth. The implicit promise that diligent effort would be amply rewarded with continuous societal improvement was quietly being broken. Marius, and indeed many like him, began to grasp that the problem wasn't merely bureaucratic inefficiency or a temporary dip in funding. It was structural, deeply embedded in the very rules that had built Norway's long-term stability. The system, once a source of immense pride, was no longer delivering on its most fundamental unspoken pledge, that national wealth would translate directly into an ever-improving quality of life for its citizens. The tension mounted as it became clear that the issue was not a momentary hiccup, but a fundamental design choice, creating a persistent, unsettling gap between the nation's extraordinary financial capacity and the immediate, tangible needs of its people, a silent rupture in the social contract. You witnessed how Norway, against the global tide of immediate gratification, deliberately chose a different path. The establishment of the Government Pension Fund Global and the subsequent fiscal rule were not mere administrative acts. They were a profound declaration of intent to convert temporary oil revenues into an unshakable, permanent, intergenerational capital. This decision, a testament to extraordinary foresight, immediately insulated the nation from the dreaded Dutch disease, preventing the hyperinflation and currency appreciation that plagued other resource-rich economies. It fostered an unparalleled long-term economic stability, a functional advantage that garnered global admiration and cemented Norway's reputation for prudent governance. Yet, even as this bulwark against volatility solidified, a subtle, almost imperceptible structural tension began to emerge. An inherent friction between the abstract, accumulating wealth in distant markets, and the concrete, evolving needs of its own people. For decades, this strategic discipline propelled the fund to grow exponentially, transforming Norway into an economic powerhouse, at least on paper. It became the world's largest sovereign wealth fund, a colossal abstract testament to financial prowess and long-term planning, its value breaking records year after year. However, this undeniable success simultaneously created new, unforeseen vulnerabilities. The very mechanism designed to prevent the Dutch disease, the deliberate separation of oil income from domestic spending, began to generate a different, pervasive kind of societal friction. As the fund swelled to unimaginable proportions, public expectations for better infrastructure, more robust social services, and reduced living costs intensified dramatically, fueled by the visible evidence of this staggering national prosperity. The colossal growth of this fund, rather than alleviating domestic pressures, paradoxically exacerbated them. The fiscal rule, once hailed as a prudent safeguard, gradually evolved into a perceived unyielding constraint, a silent antagonist against the nation's own progress. This structural barrier led to a systemic underfunding of essential public projects, creating a widening chasm between Norway's theoretical financial capacity and its citizens' tangible quality of life. Hospitals, despite belonging to one of the wealthiest nations on earth, struggled to modernize, their wards showing the strain of delayed investment. Roads, especially in rural areas, remained stubbornly dilapidated, a stark contrast to the pristine, progressive image Norway projected globally. This wasn't a failure of intent, but the direct consequence of a system prioritizing future security over present-day investment, slowly eroding the immediate benefits its citizens desperately sought. You can almost feel Marius Hansen's frustration, a gnawing sense intensifying from minor annoyance to profound internal conflict. He had diligently adhered to the societal compact, studied hard, contributed actively, and believed in the progressive vision of his nation. Yet, he now grappled with the stark, infuriating contrast between Norway's immense, abstract national wealth and the daily realities of his work. His meticulously researched proposals for crucial public transport upgrades faced inexplicable delays. Funding for vital green infrastructure projects remained stubbornly elusive. The public debate, echoing his own struggles, highlighted aging hospitals and inadequate roads, making it glaringly clear these were not isolated incidents but systemic failures. Marius began to feel a structural betrayal, a creeping realization that the nation possessed the means to achieve its grandest visions, but its own self-imposed rules were actively preventing their realization. The predictability Marius once cherished, the unwavering belief that diligent effort would be met with continuous societal improvement, began to shatter. He saw the rupture between merit and reward, a system that lauded hard work but then withheld the tangible benefits that should flow from collective prosperity. The once proud social compact, which promised a secure and progressive future in exchange for individual effort, was quietly breaking down, leaving him and many like him caught between the ideal of a perfectly functional, ever-improving society and the frustrating, self-imposed constraints of its present. This wasn't a momentary hiccup in the grand design, it was a fundamental design choice, creating a persistent, unsettling gap between the nation's extraordinary financial capacity and the immediate, tangible needs of its people. A silent rupture in the very fabric of trust. If these intricate layers of cause and effect, where deeply rational intentions pave the way for complex, unforeseen challenges, resonate with your understanding of the world, then you are ready for a deeper dive. You're invited to hit that subscribe button right now and join a growing community that seeks to unravel the hidden mechanics behind global events, understanding that today's most perplexing headlines are often direct echoes of yesterday's most carefully considered decisions. This journey into profound, analytical insights, dissecting the true implications of structural choices, doesn't stop here. It's a continuous exploration of how our world truly operates, far beneath the surface narratives, offering clarity where others only see confusion. This structural betrayal wasn't the work of individual villains, it was the insidious product of deeply entrenched forces. Foremost among these antagonists was the unwavering political consensus across Norway's entire spectrum. a shared belief that long-term fiscal prudence must consistently trump any short-term spending initiatives. This collective agreement, while born of good intentions, effectively disconnected decision-makers from the immediate frustrations of the populace. They operated under a different logic, one where the sanctity of the fund and its future growth held precedence over the clamor for present-day improvements. This wasn't a debate about right or wrong, but a fundamental disagreement on the timing and allocation of prosperity, solidifying a barrier that no single political party seemed willing or able to dismantle. Further layers of antagonism emerged from the very bureaucratic mechanisms meticulously designed to enforce these spending limits. You see, these weren't malicious actors, but cogs in a system, leading to slow approval processes, perpetual budget negotiations, and a culture of extreme caution that stifled proactive investment. Then, there was the sheer, overwhelming scale of the sovereign wealth fund itself, an antagonist in its own right. Its colossal size, meant to be a source of national pride, paradoxically became a psychological burden. It intensified public expectations to an unbearable degree, while simultaneously providing the ultimate justification for the very restraint that frustrated them. The fund's abstract immensity made its tangible absence in daily life even more glaring, perpetuating the paradox. The critical decision that cemented Norway's unique trajectory, rendering its current paradox seemingly irreversible, wasn't a single dramatic event. Instead, it was an unwavering, sustained political commitment to the fiscal rule, a principle formalized and continuously adhered to across multiple successive governments. This was a deliberate, collective act of will, solidifying extreme fiscal restraint as an immutable pillar of Norwegian governance. It reflected deeply ingrained fears of inflation and the Dutch disease, alongside a powerful intergenerational equity ethic. The belief that current generations must sacrifice immediate gratification for the benefit of those yet unborn. This profound choice, though made with the best intentions, systematically eliminated alternative paths. What could have been done differently, you might ask? A more flexible, perhaps even aggressive, deployment of oil revenues directly into domestic infrastructure, social programs, or even tax cuts in earlier decades was a path deliberately avoided. That alternative future, one of potentially faster, more immediate improvements in domestic living standards and public services, was consciously forgone. The cost of this opportunity lost is immeasurable, a shadow cast over the present. From this pivotal point, the options for Norway became inherently limited, narrowed by its own success. The nation's destiny was sealed by its own self-imposed discipline, creating a future shaped by the very rules intended to secure it. You might wonder if these are just theoretical concerns, abstract economic models. But the consequences are anything but abstract, etched into the daily fabric of Norwegian life. Open any major Norwegian newspaper, and you'll find a persistent, almost relentless national debate. Headlines scream about the agonizingly slow pace of infrastructure development, detailing overloaded public transport systems that groan under the weight of growing populations. They expose dilapidated roads winding through rural areas, a stark and embarrassing contrast to the nation's pristine global image. Hospitals, despite belonging to one of the wealthiest nations on earth, struggle desperately to modernize, their wards and equipment showing the strain of delayed investment. These aren't isolated complaints. They are a collective cry, a visible testament to the profound tension between Norway's staggering national wealth and its self-imposed spending limits, proving that the system's logic, not accident, drives this reality. Beyond the headlines, a deeper, more personal frustration simmers, particularly among young Norwegians. They find themselves trapped in a housing market where prices have soared to exorbitant, almost unattainable levels, creating a pervasive sense of exclusion. There's a growing, palpable feeling that their generation, despite inheriting an unprecedented financial legacy, is not reaping the immediate, tangible benefits of the colossal oil fund. This discontent isn't just grumbling, it's fueling serious discussions about emigration, with many considering opportunities abroad where the quality of life might more directly reflect their efforts. Simultaneously, cold, hard economic data relentlessly confirms the problem, consistently showing Norway's public investment in infrastructure as a percentage of GDP lagging behind other wealthy nations, even as the government pension fund global's value continues its record-breaking ascent. The numbers don't lie. They validate the paradox. If Norway persists on this meticulously charted course, the systemic consequences will not merely ripple. They will profoundly redefine its future, shaping the very identity of generations to come. Your children and grandchildren will indeed inherit an unprecedented financial legacy, a fund of unimaginable proportions, a true intergenerational marvel. But they will also inherit something far less tangible, yet equally powerful: a deeply ingrained culture of extreme fiscal conservatism. This cautious approach, while safeguarding against instability, risks stifling innovation and adaptability in domestic policy. It cultivates a mindset where immediate needs are perpetually subordinated to abstract future security, potentially hindering the bold, proactive investments required to meet emerging challenges and adapt to a rapidly changing world. The weight of this inherited prudence may become a burden as much as a blessing. On the global stage, Norway's reputation will remain largely intact, an admired, stable, and undeniably wealthy nation, a beacon of prudent governance. Yet, its unique economic model, built on this extreme and almost monastic restraint, risks becoming increasingly isolated, an anomaly few other countries possess the political will or structural conditions to replicate. This isn't a path easily copied. It demands a collective discipline almost unheard of elsewhere. The long-term loss of relevance won't manifest as economic decline or geopolitical weakness. Instead, it will be a subtle yet profound potential for slower domestic evolution and adaptation. Compared to nations willing to invest aggressively and dynamically in their own future, Norway risks lagging behind, bound by its own success, creating a quiet, almost imperceptible stagnation beneath the surface of its immense wealth. If these intricate layers of cause and effect, where deeply rational intentions pave the way for complex, unforeseen challenges, resonate with your understanding of the world, then you are ready for a deeper dive into the hidden forces shaping our reality. You're invited to hit that subscribe button right now and join a growing community that actively seeks to unravel the concealed mechanics behind global events, understanding that today's most perplexing headlines are often direct echoes of yesterday's most carefully considered, yet often misunderstood, structural decisions. This journey into profound, analytical insights, meticulously dissecting the true implications of governmental choices and economic models, doesn't stop with a single case study. It's a continuous, evolving exploration of how our world truly operates, far beneath the surface narratives, offering invaluable clarity where others only see confusion. the very essence of the Norwegian social model is transforming, shifting fundamentally from a system balancing collective wealth with robust collective consumption to one where the accumulation of abstract capital takes precedence. This creates a permanent psychological burden, a unique challenge of managing an almost unimaginable abundance through the lens of self-imposed scarcity. It's a national dilemma, where the public discourse is perpetually centered on the paradox of plenty, a constant internal debate about why a nation so rich struggles with seemingly basic domestic investments. This isn't just economic theory, it's a lived experience, shaping the collective psyche, forcing a reevaluation of what true prosperity actually means when the vault is overflowing, but the purse strings remain stubbornly tight. Norway's compelling story offers a profound and sobering lesson for every nation, a narrative far more universal than its fjord-laced landscapes might suggest. It reveals that even the most rational and incredibly well-intentioned structural decisions, particularly those involving extreme, almost unprecedented restraint in the face of immense, sudden wealth, inevitably generate their own complex paradoxes and enduring social tensions. This case study forces a critical reevaluation of what true national prosperity genuinely entails, dismantling the simplistic illusion that wealth alone guarantees immediate satisfaction, seamless societal progress, or an effortlessly contented populace. You now understand that a bulging national treasury does not automatically translate into improved daily life. The choices made about that wealth, or lack thereof, are what truly define a nation's present. This intricate narrative matters far beyond Norway's specific borders, for it exposes a universal pattern: the profound human and political challenge of delayed gratification, amplified onto a national scale. It compels you, the spectator, to consider the often hidden costs of both reckless profligacy and extreme, unyielding prudence. Every economic model, no matter how carefully constructed, carries inherent trade-offs, a delicate balance between present needs and future security. Norway's grand experiment demonstrates unequivocally that sometimes the greatest challenge for any society is not merely acquiring immense wealth, but the far more intricate, agonizing decision of how, or indeed whether, to spend it. A nation can be rich beyond measure, yet choose to live in a gilded cage of its own making, forever balancing future promise against present frustration.